All right. Welcome to the TheoryCraft Cutting Edge Podcast, Week 1. My name is Trey, and I'm one of the raid leaders in TheoryCraft. We've been raiding together since Miss Pandaria and have obtained multiple cutting edge achievements. I myself have started playing as a warrior since Wrath of the Lich King, and here with me are Electro, Poon, and George. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Electro.
Hello, I'm Electro. I'm the other raid leader of TheoryCraft. I've been raiding with Brandon just about. We started raiding in Siege of Orgrimmar. I was a Mistweaver. I was a Windwalker monk until I was emotionally and physically abused by a blizzard, and now I'm a subtlety rogue.
All right, go ahead, Poon.
Yeah, my name's Poon. I'm the guild lead of TheoryCraft. I'm the also former raid lead. Now that I've stepped down and let these two do it now because no one really wants to do that job. I mainly play tank. Guardian Druid's my main class that I've always played, but they kind of suck. Blizzard just doesn't touch them, so now I'm a demon hunter because scars and stuff.
Hmm.
That's pretty much it.
I like it. All right, and you, George?
I'm George. I joined this guild, at the beginning of Legion. I'm a longtime friend of Electra's brother, and I've played Holy Paladin since Cataclysm, pretty much. I took a break during Miss Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor, but I'm a Holy Paladin main.
Awesome. All right, we have 5 topics for today. The first one being our first week of Shadowlands impressions, discussion about that, leveling, conduits, all of that fun stuff. Our second topic will be daily and weekly checklists for optimizing your character for Castle Nathria. Our third will be the best comp and strongest classes that, in our opinion, going into the raid, how the bosses are looking, and if we have any concerns about Shadowlands or Castle Nathria. So let's just go ahead and start talking about week 1. What did you guys think about the leveling? Let's start with that.
I
Well,
personally enjoyed it.
yeah, I think honestly, my overall the way I feel overall about Shadowlands so far is that it's probably the most promising I've felt an expansion has started, at least since Legion. Like
Yeah.
Legion go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it reminds me, I don't know, it's just the vibe I get when I'm playing, but it reminds me a lot of the early Legion days for some reason.
Mhm. It feels like they despite all the controversy around it, it seems like they legitimately just put their all into the expansion, and they did stick with their design philosophy on a lot of things. And I think overall, after playing it, it seems like it's working out and has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the zones are even kind of similar to some of the stuff in Legion.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
was
druid,
gonna say
the druid zone, like Arden World, reminds me a lot of like the
Valshara.
yeah, like there's a lot of throwbacks to that and like kind of how it looks, even though it's a little more dark.
And I feel like each zone really has a distinct personality, a distinct theme. Looking back at the BFA zones, I didn't play a whole lot, but I did play the first patch. And the zones were unique, but as someone who played only Horde side, experiencing only, those 3 zones, Vol'dun, Nazmir, and um, Zuldazar, they're they were kind of generic in a way. They were just like jungles and a desert, and it was a lot of like the same stuff.
Hmm.
The zones here feel a lot more alive.
Well, to me, BFA the whole like leveling and zone wise felt a lot more like WoD, because WoD kind of had that same feel of
Yeah.
you had like the jungle, you had the desert, you had like like the frost like snow area. Like at least with this, it seems more like they're not really like the zones are kind of more adjusted for like the actual story and not just
Yeah.
like placements like, oh, this is what this is just because it's the zone.
They're not just like distinct terrains and
Yeah,
environments. The story of the zone is more tied into the nature of like the architecture, the environment, the treasures that you go and hunt. All this stuff ties back to the covenants that are featured in
yeah.
each
Yeah.
zone.
Even
Yeah,
the rares,
it really feels
like
like
of
all the
each zone.
zones are alive, in my opinion. Like it feels like the world is happening. Like in Maldraxxus, for example, there's like a whole like war going on and with the Bastion and all that, and I really like that. Personally, as you guys know, but I don't really care for leveling too much. I'm really just focused on the end content with raiding. But I actually enjoyed this leveling experience more than any other expansion, maybe on par with Legion.
I do real quick when you mentioned Maldraxxus, I love how when you're initially going through the story and you start in Bastion and it's like this peaceful place with
Mhm.
nice calming elegant music, and then they throw you in Maldraxxus and it's like heavy metal, guns blazing, get your ass in that arena and start fighting.
The
Like that
opening
was
to Maldraxxus was probably one of the coolest things. Although I have a pretty good computer and I had like 3 FPS that entire time.
Oh yeah,
That,
and
that entire arena.
we had our war mode on, and we were just going ham, in our group at least.
Yeah.
Like
I
we did not lose a single fight.
I think like George mentioned that the strength of the zones really is tied into the covenants, and I think without the covenants they wouldn't feel like as special, but
yeah.
like to be like Venthyr, like Revendreth feels like kind of like in a way it's your zone, or like Bastion is your zone if you're Kyrian. And um I think it really just adds something to the zones that didn't exist before. And also like it's a little strange because in Legion there were 5 zones, so it does kind of feel like I guess there's the Maw, but even though there's not 5 zones, it still feels like each zone is important in its own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot actually. What was I gonna say?
Well, what do you guys like? What's your favorite zone that you've actually like? Do
Ah,
you have a favorite zone
I
that
feel like I'm biased towards Bastion, and I hear the complaints on Bastion that it's like too bright and like I don't know. I just love it, and I think it goes back to my paladin bias, but
I
Revendreth
Oh,
is also
Bastion's
amazing.
I
also my favorite.
I'm Venthyr, but I at least like the aesthetic of Bastion the most. I like I like going there to Herb. It's like peaceful.
well,
But I think Revendreth, uh, it has like a certain level of excitement to it, mostly just because the first raid is going to take place there, where it's like it feels like Revendreth is the like end game zone, at least for right now. Um, and so like being there and like seeing all the vampires
Yeah.
and everything, it
You
gives
Gotta
me.
like
reminded
sneak around the castle to do your
Yeah,
world
you,
quests
you
and
reminded
stuff.
me. I was kind of cruising until Ravendreth, and then as soon as we got to Ravendreth, like I couldn't help myself looking at Castle Nathria. Like it was just amazing. And
dude,
I think Bastion's the most peaceful though. Like I just get peaceful vibes, and I like being there.
why is Ardenweald just not getting any respect? I don't
Okay,
understand.
I like
That
Ardenweald.
Ardenweald's
It's a
amazing.
beautiful place, but I feel like you could copy and paste Val'sharah and it
No,
and throw a little bit of extra glitter
uh,
in there, a little
Give
blue
it something
sparkly,
uh,
and then you get Ardenweald.
That's
Like I
toxic.
love the nature vibe
See,
of it, but
when I first got there, I loved it, and then there were these 2 quests that just ruined everything.
I
is it the
remember
Like,
emote one?
Yeah, the stupid fucking emote one, and then the
The
other one.
traps?
Yes, the traps.
Wait.
It actually ruined my whole experience.
Is emoting too hard for you?
I didn't miss a
First off,
single emote on that,
okay,
by the
first
way.
off, I didn't know anything about the quest, but there were 50 people there, and I could not see the guy in the bush. I didn't know he was there, so I was just trying to emote the whole time, not realizing that I had to click the guy in the bush because I didn't know there was a guy in the
Oh,
bush. But
yeah.
it's cool.
Sounds like a you problem because Arden World's definitely the best zone.
My guy
And
didn't spawn in the bush, so I didn't have that issue.
Well,
I don't
now
even know. I don't even know what bush you're talking about.
There's like a little bush next to the pond that it can
I
spawn in
think
if
he
you're
made up
standing.
this bush.
No, it's there.
All right,
But
moving on from the leveling, what do you guys think about week 1 of like endgame content as far as we have right now?
I wish there were
uh,
more dungeons.
yeah, I mean, there's a good amount of content, but you do run out of it in like a few days if you're really grinding it. I understand why they locked Torghast at 3 floors, cause that or 3 layers, cause that 3rd layer is pretty damn hard. But yeah, wish there were like more mod dailies, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's probably my like biggest negative so far is like especially compared to Legion where I felt like I it was a balance between I liked having a ton of content, but it felt like there was just not enough time to get everything done. Like there was just so much to do. Week 1 of Legion that um I felt like stressed out about it, but uh I kind of went into Shadowlands with that same energy. Like, all right, I need to do everything to the maximum that I can. And after like the 3rd day, I was pretty much just like done for the week. Um, and that's like it's okay that I don't expect to be able to get like best in slot everything first week, but did kind of feel like after there is just not much for me to do anymore for
Yeah,
the
I
week.
feel like we finished on like Wednesday with like everything, and the only quest we had was like the Soul Ash, and we're kind of capped now. Um, and then that gives time for leveling alts and stuff. But I personally don't have an alt. Um, but
Speaking of leveling alts, if you're not into leveling an alt, that I totally respect that, but I feel like leveling an alt this expansion, the way they handled it with the threads of fates, makes it really nice and painless. And yeah, the
It's
catch-up
definitely nice to
mechanics with
do.
Covenant are gonna pay off.
The
I
only
just
thing,
can't get through the mom, man. Like
I mean,
I
yeah,
struggle like with leveling. Like I just want to get to the end game content.
the only thing I
Mhm.
could see being a problem though with having an alt is like, yeah, you can catch up really easily on your covenant and stuff, but the fact that there's just so little gear that drops, like,
Yeah, it's
it's
hard.
pretty insane. I mean, even with the mythic zeros, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but when I was running my mythic zeros, I feel like if this was last expansion or even Legion, like I would have been like geared out, like
Feel
doing
like it
all
was
the mythic zeros.
it's slightly RNG though, because there's some people in the guild who are, already 180.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
They're
at
yeah,
missing like 3 or 4
178.
mythics. But no, I get you. The clearing all 8 dungeons and only getting like 5 pieces of gear really sucks.
it's a little weird.
When did Mythic Plus open in Legion? Was it second week or?
I think it was with
Or it was with Raid, I think.
Mythic, or was it with Heroic normal?
I think it was with Heroic.
Probably heroic normal. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Um,
it was 2 weeks of Mythic dungeons and then Mythic Plus, I
yeah,
think.
I guess like it. I overall I know I'm gonna like the way things are going into raid with gear mattering more and not being able to just like Titan forge your way to victory, but it like if all I wanted to do was just gear for raid, which is pretty much what I do only want to do, it does feel like there's not as much for me to do. But for like a lot of people in the guild who are like doing alt runs or going for mount runs and stuff, it seems like
Yeah,
you guys are always like doing things.
Mount runs honestly is something that this is like the first expansion that's ever even happened. Like we literally get like fucking 5 to 10 people together and just go do all the mounts. That was actually pretty fun for the
Oh,
first week.
and I'm also excited for next week. We're gonna do attempt at getting Shadowlands Dungeon Hero or something. I remember Elliot talking about that, getting a group for that, and that's kind of exciting. Getting that done week 1 or week 2, I should say.
Yeah, it gives you a lot more time to pursue the non-necessary things, the stuff you
Yeah.
want to do.
I mean, that type of stuff for me, like, that kind of stuff comes more like 10 weeks into the expansion.
Yeah.
Go back and do that when we're like progressing and it's not as like fresh for raid.
Yep, for sure.
This might be a little off topic, and if it is, we don't have to discuss it now. But what do you guys think of the legendary system?
Um,
Because
it actually kind of transitions into the next topic, which is daily and weekly checklists. And
oh,
I personally did not have any idea about we had to craft them. I thought we just took it to the rune carver and that was it. And then you informed me that there was a lot more to it, and I'm glad you did because I would have been at that rune carver next week and just been lost. But yeah, go ahead and
like
what are your 2
people
cents?
are already crafting rank 4 legendaries,
Mhm.
and I was talking with your brother Dylan. I was talking with Connor about how uh we were wondering if like this is something that Blizzard anticipated, is that people would bang out these high rank legendaries super quickly, or if it's supposed to be more of like a long-term progression thing.
I
Cause
mean,
like
I think that's why they gated Torghast as much as they did, because they
they
want.
capped it at 3.
Yeah,
Yeah. But like the fact that there's like there's legendaries like the one you need, Dylan, that are gated behind certain Torghast wings. So if it doesn't come up next week, you have to farm it day 1 of week 3 or not have your legendary for Mythic. And 2, uh, you can potentially, with the amount of Soul Ash they're giving you, get rank 2 legendaries before Mythic. So it not only pressures people who are time gated to get their legendary runes before Mythic, and those who have the access to it, and then you have people like Sumor, who has farmed the other side like 50 times and still hasn't gotten it.
Oh, yep.
And
I'm
on
on
top of that,
30.
you need rank 2. So it's like,
Yeah, I'm on like my 30th run for Sanguine Depths, and I still haven't gotten my recipe.
Yeah, I actually like overall I like the legendary system, but I do not like how they handled the early expansion handling of the legendaries. I feel like all the like legendary drops shouldn't have been available until raid release. I think making everybody at least able to be on an even playing field in regards to that, because it just
yeah.
feels like you're at an inherent disadvantage if you get your legendary drop from raid, because it's not even a guaranteed drop. So people who like just got it luckily from their Torghast wing being available first week, um or just like getting lucky on dungeons, they're just at an inherent advantage that there's nothing you can do about. And that just like feels bad as a player to not have any, to like know that you have to go in uh with a disadvantage compared to other people.
I mean, yeah, but I think at some point you kind of just have to like be okay with that.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's nothing I can do about it, but
Yeah.
I don't like
It's
to.
just the system, but
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot better than Legion where it was random and you'd get your best in slot like months later. But yeah,
yeah.
it would have been better, I think, if, like you said, Dylan, they had it all released on raid week, so everyone's at a even playing field.
Yeah.
Speaking of best in slot, I talked to Vice yesterday. I was talking to him about Arms Warrior, and he mentioned to me that the best Arms Warrior legendary isn't an Arms legendary, isn't even a Warrior legendary. It's one of the generic legendaries.
Like Sephusa's?
So, yeah, it's like one of those. So, I mean, there's some classes. I assume it's not just Arms, but they definitely need to do some retuning if that's the case.
I
Should
think
never be like that.
they said they were going to tune. I think starting next week once not next week but the week after, like once Heroic comes out, they're gonna take that time to like start tuning stuff. And I think honestly the drop chance in raid is probably gonna be higher than things have been for dungeons.
Yeah, like a
I
Like
just
normal
getting
don't.
your
horde
rune
dungeon.
carve.
Yeah, I don't see them having like the drop chance be
Yeah.
super generic. Like it's gonna be pretty high.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
the generic legendaries makes me wonder what's even the point of having them, because like uh, just the fact that you're like a class specific one isn't the best in slot just seems really lame.
Well, I
And
bet you they're gonna pull a Sephuz or a Prydaz on them and make them the most busted legendary ever, and then everyone's gonna be running them or
right.
something crazy.
I remember all of us wearing our Pride as on progression.
Yeah. It just had so much stats.
Yeah.
Sephuz gave you so much haste if you kicked something. It's like they buffed the generics so much.
So what else do you guys recommend? Well, not even recommend, just our concrete plan
Well,
for being optimized for Nathria. For me personally, is getting my legendary recipe, doing all the order hall quests, doing all the mythic zeros. I think that's like one of the most important for gearing, and then getting your cap at Soul Ash. Is there anything else that you guys can think of to get optimized?
just have to do your renown weekly, and then like
maybe farm a little anima, your callings.
the other thing is it's not super required, but doing your professions, because you can do like a lot of people in our guild have gotten a shit ton of gold from professions, and also are like, I know my brother's gonna be crafting. Some of us are like tier one legendaries, and I'm gonna be providing a lot of herbs and whatnot for like flasks week one. So all those things, if you're like in a guild and um, you have a lot of people doing professions. Professions are actually pretty sick, and each profession has legitimate value to like preparing a raid group.
Yeah, especially now that multi-boxers are gone, the market is in favor of more people doing their professions.
Yeah, the other thing they did to prevent like the to keep like the market I guess valuable. I don't really know how to describe it, but they took out like flask and pot procs, for example, on alchemy. So they pretty much you get an equivalent amount, um, or you always will get the same amount of flasks and pots instead of just getting like a lucky 15 proc or something.
They
Which
don't keep
Why does that
prices
remind me?
regulated.
yeah,
Why does that remind me of like I don't know, Miss Pandora, where you were just sitting there crafting pots and then you'd get lucky like 20. Was that you
in
in
Legion
Legion?
it was yeah.
I just remember you're like, oh yes, I got a huge proc or whatever.
Mhm. But yeah, like eh, I having like 120 potions is like so much more valuable now than it was in Legion, where you could just get really like super lucky with like a third of the resources.
That's
Um,
good. So anything else we can think of to get optimized? What is your guys' main priority? You think Mythic Zero?
I think the Mythic Zeros and
You know,
Torghast is the most important.
you want to know something that's like pretty sleeper OP right now? That's really important. That like probably maybe 5% people are doing is actually going and PvPing and like getting your honors so that you can buy some of this gear. Because I know a lot of classes like Demon Hunter, for example, Havoc and Vengeance, your best in slot stats right now is just stacking as much haste as you can, and like the PvP gear you can go buy is like super haste heavy, with verse on top of it. And then there's also best in slot trinket from PvP. There's like two of them. There's a proc and an on use that are both really fucking good, and I don't think people have been taking advantage of that because like
That's a good point.
you can basically replace the heroic gear that you have that are like shitty stats with like PvP gear with optimized stats, which just
You know
go
what the
like
eye
so
level
far.
on it is?
You can
Like,
get it
is
up
it good?
to heroic dungeon level.
And are there options, or is the haste one just what
No,
happens with the Demon Hunter?
there are other options. Like there's other gear with like crit verse, like crit other stuff. Like it's
Okay.
not just haste verse.
Yeah, that's good.
Like the weapons, like there's a really good weapon. It just has a lot of shit that I think people should look into. Like it does take a little bit, but it's honestly kind of worth.
I'm glad you brought that up because I totally forgot about the PvP aspect,
Yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty huge. This expansion.
and especially with
Speaking of
the Shadow
PvP,
Vaults and getting those.
yeah,
Uh,
PvP might be the easiest one to get all three of your options for.
Hmm.
hmm.
And
So,
once Conquest gear gets released, it'll help you fill out the rest of your gear set for whatever you're missing.
Yeah.
all right. Now to my favorite part of World of Warcraft, the raid. Let's talk about what you guys think are the best comps and strongest classes going into Castle Nathria. Dylan, you want to start us off? What do you think is gonna be the best?
Well, Shadow Priests are Shadow Priests and Marksman are just insane right now, and definitely like they're just like perfectly suited for the raid. Because if you've seen any of the raid bosses, it's a lot of like cleave and multi-target, but like not super AoE, just multi-target cleave, and that's just like the ideal scenario for Shadow Priests and like Marksman. But um, some other classes that are good is like part of the reason why I'm playing it is Subtlety Rogue. Their single target DPS is pretty much the highest in the game of any class. Just they fall a little bit in cleave. Um, so that they're super strong. Um, for tanks, like Brewmaster is looking to be pretty insane for the raid.
I think I'll have Boone do the tank stuff and George do the healing stuff. If you want to focus on the DPS.
All right, I'll stay in my lane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Please.
uh, Frostmate. All right. Oh, God damn it. I just saw Design's message, but yeah, Frost mages, they're pretty good. Um, like running dungeons with the Frost Mage is always pretty juicy to have that lust and just their overall utility. Um, outside of that, like I know Reds are people's how are saying Reds are kind of overtuned. I haven't really played with them, um, but it looks like they just have super insane just like dungeon damage just because of their burst. And how I don't know how they'll be in raid comparatively because they have a lot of like insane downtime when they're not in cooldowns, but uh apparently in dungeons right now there's some of the best. Um but overall I think it really just comes down to like having shadow priests, marksmen, hunters and warlocks is it's like what you really need if you're like those are some of the top classes um right now. And frost mages if you're a loser.
Oh. All right, Poon. Split the tank one. What do you think? You do vengeance.
Before before I do tank, I just want to say something. Just to piggyback off of Dylan. I think DPS that people need to stop sleeping on is Boomkin. I think they're gonna be the MVP of this raid. Mark my words.
For sure, Sun
Record
King's
it.
Salvation, Boomkin is gonna be crazy.
They're gonna be the hidden OP on this fucking in this raid, which is why I'm trying to recruit one. If you are in the chat and you're a Boomkin, hit me up. Thanks.
So, Pim, do you want to go over Demon Hunter,
Yeah,
Paladin, and Guardian Druid?
yeah. So basically, when it comes to those three tanks right now in the raid, um, I definitely think Guardian Druid and Pally have the edge. Just being Guardian just being so tanky right now, especially with the Barkskin Legendary. There's probably not another tank that can withstand as much damage as them. I don't even think Brewmasters are as tanky as them right now. Like they just have so many cooldowns ready, and Frenzied Regen is actually buffed and decent this expansion, so that's really nice. Um, but I mean, Pallies they bring a lot of DPS, which is very nice to have as a tank. If you can pump out as much DPS as like probably the lowest DPS in the raid, then it's definitely helps kill bosses. They also have like the utility that they always has with like sack and bop and all that stuff and bubble. If anything like goes crazy, they can always bubble and try to kill a boss within that time, or soak mechanics. Um, I think that Vengeance is probably the third on that tier, but only if you play the Spirit Bomb like Kyrian spec, where you just spam Kyrian Sigil and Spirit Bomb. I still think it's good, like you can progress on it, but it's definitely going to be probably the weaker of those two. Maybe similar with Pally, just because Pally's not like it's not super tanky outside of uh like if cooldowns go down, like Shield of the Righteous isn't going to keep you alive during like a massive hit, but um I think Demon Hunter when it comes to the Fiery Brand build, it's probably going to be up there with Brewmaster and Monk when it comes to tankiness, I think. Just because the fact that you're going to be able to soul cleave, you're going to have your Fiery Brand up for every single like ability that comes from the boss, pretty much, while also having Demon Spikes and meta, and you can proc meta with Chi Death. They're just, to me, taking the place of Blood DKs being like the self healing tanky class. I kind of think Blood DKs are dropping out and Vengeance is taking over in that spec. So that's why I'm maining Vengeance. I think they're going to be sleeper OP,
And we'll get
especially with
into
Firebrand.
the bosses a little later, but there are a couple like I can think of on the top of my head with Hungry Destroyer and Artificer where we have to make distance, and
Yeah,
having our combo with Brewmaster, Demon Hunter, we're gonna slide through those mechanics like it's nothing. Um,
yeah,
Now I guess I'll talk about my three tanks. I'll start with my baby, the Protection Warrior. Um, I just can't see them being good in Nathria with all the bleeds, with the active mitigation. I don't know if you can even have 100% uptime on shield block right now. Um, and they do provide some good utility, with Rallying Cry and Battle Shout, but I just can't see bringing a Prot Warrior over any other class right now. I think they might be, if not the weakest tank right now. Unfortunately, but that being said, um, let's move on to Death Knights, which they have amazing raid utility with anti-magic zone, which they just got back. You can take the hits, heal it back up. They can grip in, they can just do it all, it seems like. They have great survivability for, Castle Nathria. The only problem with Death Knight, and the reason why I swapped off of it, was that their damage is abysmally low right now. Like, they just don't have a lot. Like, they have their Death Strike, their Blood Boil, and, that's pretty much the combo. And they just are super low in the DPS, and I can see threat being a problem possibly for them. But for survivability, they're really good, obviously. But now going to Brewmaster Monk, I just swapped to Brewmaster a week ago or a week before the expansion. And holy shit, I did not know that tanking could be so much fun. I just their survivability was just taking the hit, purifying it off. They have a shield, they have a roll, they have mobility, they have everything. I just was so impressed when I started playing it. They also bring the 5% physical buff, which I think is the most efficient monk to bring in raid right now for that buff. Because I just feel like Windwalker is just, subpar, and then getting the buff applied as a Mistweaver is not as quick as it would be as a Brewmaster. So I just feel like that's a perfect slot for the Brewmaster monk. Other than that, they have self heal. They just have it all, and I fell in love with Brewmaster. Um, but that's about it for the tanks. How about the healers, George?
Um, so I haven't really done a whole bunch of research into what the other specs can bring. In terms of what our comp is running, we've got the Holy Pally myself. Um, Dylan's brother is bringing a Mistweaver. Candy is a Shaman. Blother is a Disc Priest. One thing that I could see standing out and being really, really strong in this raid is the Kyrian Covenant, the generic ability, the file. The fact that it can remove damage over time abilities, including bleeds, is going to be a really, really big safeguard for some specs. But yeah, I mean, you definitely want a shaman. It's a little unfortunate we don't have a druid, because they can put out a lot of healing through tranquility. And efflorescence is very nice on a lot of the fights, but yeah, I mean, I need to do more research in terms of the healers, what they can bring.
That Kyrian ability, I forgot to mention it for the file. I hope it works in Castle Nathria, because that's
It
why
will.
I picked Kyrian.
Yeah,
And
it will work in Castle Nathria.
so that's going to be a huge advantage with that ability. How about the comps? What do you think the best tank combo would be in your opinion, Poon?
I mean, if you're going like pure progression, probably Prop Pally Brewmaster. Uh, just because you get the buff of the monk and you bring the utility of the pally. It's always nice. But you don't have to. You can have like Rep Pally, you can have Holy Pally like we have, and not have to bring a Prop Pally. I think that Vengeance and Brewmaster are really nice because it means you don't have to bring a Havoc. And not that I think Havoc's like terrible, I just think that with at least how I think Vengeance is going to do in Raid right now, I think having a Vengeance in there is pretty nice, and you could take the Havoc spot and fill it with another class like a Boomkin or a Mage or a Warlock or even a Hunter, and it's probably better. And then I also think you could probably fit in Guardian Druid in the spot of Brewmaster. The only thing I see Guardian Druid struggling with right now in Raid is just the fact that they aren't as mobile as Vengeance or Brewmaster. They have Stampede. They can swap out of cat into cat and kind of get around, but you don't really want to do that. If you're like having a tank boss, you can't really swap the cat. But yeah, I mean, I think our duo is going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, we definitely have the maximum ability. And George, what do you think the best healing comp would be?
Well, you're definitely gonna want a shaman and a paladin as kind of like your utility base. In terms of the other two healers, disc priests are always nice. They bring a little nice buffer of damage on the boss, as well as a lot of damage reduction utility. Um, I mean, we have a Mistweaver, and Connor's a very good healer. but I would probably prefer a druid over a mistweaver, just because they're able to have a little bit more blanket control of healing. And mistweavers do good raid healing with renewing mist and vivify, but I feel like having double stacked rejuves on a good portion of the raid when they have to soak a mechanic is you can't really beat that. So no offense, Connor, but I would take a druid.
Are you trying to hint at him to swap or?
I know he's not gonna swap. We've had this conversation. The only way he's playing World of Warcraft is if he plays a Mistweaver. So
So would you think? Would you say our comp is like pretty much like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10?
yeah, we have a very good comp, and all of our healers are very experienced and competent. So I don't think we're gonna have a problem with healing. I
Connor
just
said,
personally need a, huh?
I was just gonna say, Connor said misweaving touched his soul, so yeah, that's definitely something that
Yeah,
he's sticking with.
No, Dylan.
he enjoys the green mist.
Not everything that touches your soul is a good thing, you know.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Well, what do you mean?
Dylan. I know you went over like the best, like the top performing classes, and do you want to go over like what you would bring the priorities?
Well, the most important thing is just that you have all the buffs. So it's important that you have warrior, priest, mage buff, and then you have the monk, demon hunter one as well. And that's like the first thing you want in your comp is to like check off those boxes. Because at the very minimum, like as long as you have the as long as you're going into every fight with the maximum buffs, your comp's already gonna be fine. And then after that, you want to look at utilities. So, like, you want a class like a warlock with the lock gate and the lock rocks. Um, Mages are good for their buff and also for lust. And then you want like a couple classes with some immunities. So, like rogues or hunters or paladins to because I know there's some mechanics where you can just completely soak them all with an immunity. So um, just like having things like that. But overall, like if you have the core buffs, like the ones I mentioned, honestly, it doesn't really matter what your comp is outside of that, unless there's the whole thing of unless you're world first rating, it really just doesn't matter. But I think it's good to just at least have the basic buffs, and then to have a bunch of trial boomkins is really important for sure.
Mm.
All right, sounds good. Now let's get into the bosses. I know you and I have gone over it extensively in the past month or so, and we're researching the new changes and everything. We went over the updated guides yesterday or the day before. Um, my first impressions are they look awesome. The only fight that I'm not looking forward to is Sun King Salvation. It kind of reminds me of like a Galacross where we just once we overgear it, we kill the ads real quick, and then we're just sitting there, doing nothing. But there is those lanterns that DPS can suck their health pool to heal Karthus or Keltis. Um, but other than that fight, everything looks amazing. Like the portal boss, Artificer, even Shriekwing, the first boss looks awesome. Uh, Altamore looks amazing. And then we have the big boy Sire Nathrius, which is gonna be hectic. But what are your first thoughts on how the bosses are looking?
Well, I'll go first since I'm gonna have to go here in a second, but um, I think well, first off, the theme of the raid is sick, and I think it's probably the best looking raid for a like opening raid for an expansion. Uh, Honestly, since I didn't play Kata, but like from Mop on, this is probably like the best one. Cider Nathrius is like an actual cool and charismatic villain, but the bosses themselves, Sun King's Salvation is kind of everything I hate in a boss fight, where it's just chaotic ad targeting. Um, I don't like boss fights that aren't an actual like boss, and it's more just like you're fighting off waves of ads. I hate boss fights like that. But besides that, they honestly there's a lot of really cool and creative mechanics I haven't seen in a raid before, and I think it's like actually just super sick, and I'm looking forward to going into it. It's pretty much all I think about these days is going in there and raiding Castle Nathria. So I'm super pumped.
That's all I can think about.
Yeah, but I think that might be a problem. But
Kind of weird.
yeah, I think maybe after we get cutting edge, we should consider getting having something else in our life. But until then, that's all there is.
The only thing
Yeah,
that
we'll have the
matters is
next
cutting
raid.
Yeah,
Yeah, the next raid look forward
exactly.
to.
What about you guys, Boone, George?
I mean, I honestly think that my favorite fight is going to be Sludge Fist. Um, honestly, I love those type of fights, especially when it comes to just bosses that hit hard, and it's kind of like difficult to tank. Um, I'm also curious to see how Sarah Denathrius is gonna go. Most of the time, I'll have like one or two maybe bosses that really pique my interest in a raid, and then that'll be it. Just because honestly, a lot of bosses are tank and spank nowadays, so the fight's not really that engaging. But you'll usually get like maybe one if you're lucky to. That'll be super engaging. Also think Hungering Destroyer might be another boss that might be a little engaging.
Okay, we're gonna have to
Um,
go soak those balls.
yeah, I love soaking balls.
No doubt, no doubt.
But I'm hoping that I have fun in a tier if the last boss is like super fun, and like there hasn't really been a boss at the beginning of an expansion. Like Wad was trash, like that. I'm not even gonna talk about that raid. Legion was all right.
Yeah, but
Zav-
Xavius was a Shatter Priest meme.
yeah, Xavius was just
Yeah,
a meme, nothing.
Cenarius was the real final boss of that.
Yeah, Cenarius
Yeah,
was fun.
yeah, Scenarios was fun. Um, and in BFA, like,
Gahoon.
yeah, Gahoon was just trash. That
Gahoon
whole
was a
raid was trash.
slugfest.
That raid was trash. Gahoon's trash.
I actually really liked the healer fight in Uldir, but
We had a monk that just like got stuck on a rock, and it was just the worst. And oh,
Okay,
super
on
after,
respect.
Gahoon.
Yeah, and Gahoon is really bad.
it was a legitimate thing. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
I'm sorry. Like that just shows that rock exemplifies all of BFAs that they cared so little that they put an invisible rock just there to fuck you at just randomly.
Gahoon
Yeah,
was cool because it required each individual
or
player
warlocks.
to be competent, or warlocks, or 15 warlocks.
Yeah,
Um, but I feel like I haven't, like I said earlier, I haven't watched a lot of the fights, but I have watched a bit of the Sire Denathrius fight, and the debuff he puts on people, where you have to make sure like a good portion of the raid has a different number of that debuff, otherwise you just get hit with a massive chunk of damage. It's like that kind of self accountability mechanic I kind of like. I
yeah,
feel like it makes you more invested instead of just standing there clicking buttons waiting for something to happen. You're
yeah.
actively measuring yourself.
I'm just hoping that the fight is like not super lame and isn't like something you can just stack classes
Yeah.
on and people just kill it super fast and like I don't know.
Do
I
we
just
know
hate
if
it when that
there's a
happens.
secret mythic phase?
I was just about to say,
No.
I hope so. I mean, we don't know right now, but uh, there's been a rumor that he's one of those demons. I can't remember the name. Kel'Thuzad, maybe? No, not Kel'Thuzad.
Oh fuck.
It was like those Dreadlord. Like
Yeah.
Like Maldraxxus?
he's,
Or not Maldraxxus, sorry, Tichondrius?
Yeah,
Like
but
that
not
kind of
not
stuff?
Tychondrius, but like a different Dreadlord, and that he was actually like disguised as him. But that'd be cool. But I
Dude,
don't know. If,
Like,
I have a feeling that Sire Denathrius is just Xavius's soul.
what if I told you that Inzoth actually won and none of this is real and we're all just fighting fake
It's
stuff?
entirely possible,
I
Joe.
feel like I could see that coming.
Jamie, look that up.
Jamie, like the-
All right.
I've got to go.
No worries. Thank you for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Vengeance sucks. I'm excited for raid. Twitch.tv
Cool.
/Lecture. See you guys all.
Okay, dude.
Yeah,
Oh,
do you want to shout anything out before you go?
live plug.
Nah, just be looking
Tune
up.
into LL Extra.
Oh yeah, actually, I do want to shout something out. TheoryCraft.com or YouTube.com/TheoryCraft. Go check that out. That's where the podcast is
Poon,
gonna be. And yeah,
I
adios.
think
Oh,
your
yeah.
friend posted the thing you were looking for. The Dreadlords?
Nathrism.
Nathrism.
Yeah, that's the one.
Uh,
All right.
Bye, boys.
Later.
See ya, Dylan.
All
Later.
right. Let's
Thank God he's gone.
Whoa.
let's get into our last topic of the night. Do you guys have any concerns about Shadowlands or Castle Nathria in general? Because as far as right now, it's looking very promising, both the raid and the expansion.
Yeah, same. Like I said, it gives me big time Legion vibes. I'm hopeful that the legendary system isn't gonna fuck people over like it did back in Legion. Um, but I could see it like, for example, it could get really expensive for a casual player to get their rank 4 legendary. Like, how is a casual player supposed to either craft their profession all the way up to rank 4 or spend 200k on a piece of gear?
Well, I think the argument to that is a casual player even gonna care or know what a legendary is?
I mean, when I'm saying casual, I don't mean someone who just like a casual raider.
Like Genova?
Someone not like Genova, no, not like anyone in our guild, but like in those casual guilds where like they progress on heroic and they progress on normal, like stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see that.
I didn't even know about the legendaries until a few days ago, where you had to craft them.
Like
So
it is week 1, so there's still, stuff we don't know about the system.
The,
Um,
the
but
thing that I'm worried about the most is, and I mean, it goes back to like previous expansions, like, it feels a little weird how much less gear is dropping right now. And I mean, I think that maybe they could change it, like going in another patch, like down the line. Maybe they'll up gear drops, but I don't think they will. And I could see that maybe like kind of bottlenecking people and like causing issues with if there's any like fights that need people to be a certain eye level, like just to like push out.
DPS checks.
Yeah, like how is
If you
that going to interact with going into a raid and getting 3 pieces?
Do you know if they're doing anything to supplement it? Like, is there gonna be another source of gear besides raid and
Well,
dungeons and
that's what I was
PvP?
thinking. PvP, like,
Yeah,
do they want PvP to become like the thing where, well, if you really want to get like extra gear, like here's
gotta do it
PvP, it's
all.
right here. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not like totally against that idea. I just think that definitely it's gonna alienate certain people.
Yeah,
Because there are gonna be people that just refuse to want a PvP, and like, is that gonna cause raids to like rethink about having them like come to raid? Like, are people gonna get fucking G kicked because they don't want a PvP and like get as much gear as possible? I don't know.
one thing
I
that
don't know.
I hope that they change back is the personal loot on for Mythic.
Change it back to Master Loot.
Yeah, for Mythic at least, because I feel like guilds should be have a choice in who they get the gear to.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't see a reason why they wouldn't make it so if it's like a guild group. Not at like a pug mythic. Pug mythic, we can keep it personal loot because we don't want ninja looters, but if it's a guild group.
I mean, how do they like designate what's a guild group and what's not? Like actually on the game, like is that even possible?
I
A
think it's like
group
15
that
or
has
more.
20 members in the same guild.
I mean, yeah, but is that like a new code they're gonna have to like write to?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if they would like
I
do
mean,
that.
I think Brandon was about to say they have a current system in the game where is it 15?
I think
I
it's
don't know how
15
many
guild
it is,
members is like a guild group or something like that.
but they do have something right now that can designate your raid as a guild group, but it's not the full 20.
Yeah, it's pretty lame. I mean, I don't really mind personal loot if it's like where I honestly think people should be able to trade gear if they're gonna do personal loot like this, no matter what the eye level is, even if it's an upgrade for you. Like let's say
Yeah.
you get a piece and it's not the best slots, it's not the best stats for you, but it's best for someone else, but it's higher eye level. Like I don't know. I mean,
They're
I know they
just
want
trying to objectively avoid any possibility for like loot toxicity. They
yeah.
don't want people to feel pressured to have to give away a piece that's an upgrade for them just because your guild officers are telling you it's better for the team if it goes to someone else. But I mean, ultimately, if you're high end rating, I feel like your interests should be in the team and not necessarily in yourself. It should be in terms of guild progression because when you all kill that boss, you all kill that boss. It's not just some of you.
I
So,
agree.
I just think the majority of raiders probably don't look at it like that. Like a lot of people, even though they'll say they have like the selfless mindset where they're not being selfish, at the end of the day, I feel like it kind of always comes back to certain people just caring more about their character than actually killing a boss.
yeah.
It kind of goes back to like people, even when like people pick classes, like they want to pick flavor of the month, they want to pick what looks like it's going to do the most damage. But looking at like a meter on Warcraft logs and seeing that, oh, Shadow Priests are top DPS right now. I want to play Shadow Priest so that I'm gonna be top DPS in my
I mean,
guild.
ultimately, it's whatever makes you have fun. I don't want to take people's fun away from them.
Yeah, but
But at a certain level, rating is a team effort. So you have to, you know, abandon that mindset.
I mean, yeah, but is it fun when like the class gets nerfed and then you're like, oh,
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, I
but
didn't.
then if that person has fun by doing a lot of damage, odds are they're going to switch and they're going to put in just as much effort on that other character.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people like fizzle out when it comes to like picking flavor of the month. Like
It's possible, yeah.
if it's someone with a lot of experience and they like that's how they raid, like yeah. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of new raiders like they'll come into it and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna play this and I'm gonna be top of the meters in my guild." And then, like, even if that class shows it's top of the meters and like Warcraft logs, that doesn't mean you're gonna be top of the meters like in your guild. Like that's just not how like it works. Like you
Yeah.
could be a Shadow Priest and still be like middle of the pack in your guild because you have like other good players that are really good at their class. I
Why I
don't know.
play Holy Pally all the time and I just don't look at the healing like I look at my own logs, but I haven't looked at the rankings or anything like that.
Basically, what I'm saying is bring back 10 mans, please. All right, thank you.
Amen.
How did any of that have to do with 10 mans?
Because 10 mans, it's way
We're
easier to
talking
get
about loot, and then we're
10
talking
mans.
about players.
It all ties together because at 10 mans, it's way easier to get 10 people who are on the same page than trying to wrangle 20 people together that, like, three of them could have differing ideas.
Yeah, but 20-man rating is like more grandiose. It's like they can do more with 20 players than they can do with 10. There's only so many mechanics that a 10-man raid can handle.
Oh, fuck that shit, dude. Make that shit hard.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Poon, did you want to shout anything out?
Yeah. I'm gonna shout this out. Hold on one sec. I actually got this ready. but I forgot. Please go to tinyurl.com/theorycraftrecruit if you are looking for a guild that is going for cutting edge but not going to be toxic assholes. Uh, Please sign up there. I will contact you.
Oh, he will
Preferably,
contact you.
preferably, I'll call you at your work.
Needs
Uh,
like reference numbers.
I will get a hold of you, no matter who you are, where you are. I will find you. So, yeah, we're looking for DPS, preferably ranged. But if you are a melee, you will also be looked at. We have a couple spots right now that aren't like fully set in stone. So, yeah. And other than that, I don't really have a Twitter or anything like that. I guess you can follow me on Twitch. I'm probably gonna be streaming raids there. So the Pooner Boy, you can follow me if you want to watch tank POV and like watch me rage without having when I mute my mic, you can still hear me on stream. So yeah.
Sounds good. How about you, George?
I don't use social media, but I am going to be streaming a Dungeons and Dragons game in about an hour and 20 minutes on my channel. So if you are interested, feel free to check that out.
Hey,
It is
I'll
a
be there.
homebrew. Yes, Mr. Poon will be there, as well as the previously heard from LOL Electro. I have one more thing to plug. Check out LOL Electro.
Oh my god. Like
Uh,
that kid needs any more plugging. He gets plugged enough.
okay,
Oh, you
dude.
can't say that.
What?
All
What
right,
do you
and then
mean?
You can't talk about his sponsorship contracts like that
Okay.
in public.
my socials are at the bottom. This podcast is going to be uploaded to the TheoryCraft YouTube channel, so go ahead and subscribe to that, like, comment, and all that fun stuff. Notification bell, and thank you all for watching. Later.